I saw a big difference between the East and the West, also small and big cities. I started out in Leipzig, which is a former East Germany. There's a lot of like stone buildings and towers and churches, which are really awesome. Super cool to see the old churches with all the big spires and the paintings inside. And one really famous church is the St. Thomas Church, which is where, those of you that know music history, Johann Sebastian Bach lived there, and he wrote music every single week for his little boys choir, and they did the church service every week. And so he's buried there, and they still perform. They still have this little boys choir, and they are incredible musicians. They're so good at what they do. Anyways, I highly recommend listening to them during a P day if you have the chance. But it's kind of a darker feeling of a city. And I think there's like in the East, there's like less trust of strangers. People don't trust people they don't know. And so they're very like careful around you, and they don't like trust religion. A lot of times if I asked people on the street if they believed in God, they were likely to say no in the East. And most of the responses were, well, I've seen too much suffering. How could God let so much happen that's, makes people suffer? So that's what I saw in like East Germany as far as like believing in God and religion, and like there's just like less color and less friendly things to strangers. Now, on the other hand, West Germany, what used to be West Germany, is required to give lots of money to the East, and so they're building a lot of really big like train stations and big infrastructure buildings and museums and rebuilding churches, and so it's making the East a lot nicer because it was kind of run down, and it was a little bit, it was just kind of old and scarred by war. But they're doing a lot of rebuilding, and so that's really nice for the East Germans. And I think they're hardworking people, so they're recovering just fine, but it just felt a little bit like less faith. There was a little bit less faith in religion, and more like, I only trust in myself, like you can only trust yourself in this world type of feeling. And the church members in the East German area they're super faithful. They're super awesome. They have like generations and generations of family members that have been in the church, that have, met with President Monson, and he's been there. And so they're like, have this awesome legacy of like, I don't know, just being really stalwart saints. And they really love the missionaries, and it's a really great saints feeling where everyone, you just are like in the church, and you're going to stay in the church. Of course, it's really, it's really hard for newer members of the church, I think everywhere though, to kind of like really change their lives and feel like completely, accepted and bonded with everyone. But overall, there's a great, strong church. Even though there's not a lot of members there, it's a great, strong church in the East. In the West, my experiences in the West, I was in smaller cities in the West, and it was beautiful. Basically everywhere in Germany, actually, there's a lot of like public transportation in the form of like streetcars and buses. And so there's a lot of like pedestrians and like cobblestone streets. Like you actually walk almost everywhere, and you just walk on like the stone streets or like the cobblestone streets, and it's super cute, and you feel awesome. You just feel really cool.